As we look at the economy forecast, is the U.S. gaining jobs like he says, or are we losing them? What's going on?
Yeah, Pastor Jim, we're actually losing jobs pretty rapidly, but the government, you just look at January's number, Pastor Jim. In January, if you'll remember, the government came out and told us, oh, the U.S. economy gained over 500,000 jobs, if you remember, and everyone celebrated. They said, wow, we're gaining a lot of jobs. But that wasn't the real number. That was the adjusted number. That was the number that they came up with after they did all of their fancy adjustments, all of their extreme adjustments, which have gotten more extreme over time. But do you know what the raw unadjusted number was? What they actually measured, Pastor Jim? In January, the U.S. economy actually lost 2.5 million jobs. But then because of their adjustments, they said, oh, we gained 500,000. So they actually added 3 million to the real number and came up with a positive number when we actually lost 2.5 million. That's why, Pastor Jim, if we want a real look at what's really going on with employment, we need to ask the private companies that track these things. For example, Challenger, Gray, and Christmas, they just came out with a new report. And they have found that the number of job cut announcements, the number of people that companies say they're laying off this year in just January and February compared to the same time in 2022 last year, this year it's 427% higher than it was last year.
Wow.
So we're seeing a tsunami of layoffs. Facebook just announced a second round of layoffs, 10,000 more workers. Facebook, one of the most prosperous companies in the country. Twitter's laid off people. Google's laying off people. Microsoft is laying off people. Walmart is laying off people. McDonald's is laying off people. And the list goes on and on and on and on. Almost all the big corporations in America are laying off people. We're losing jobs, just like we did in 2008. So many of the things I'm talking about right now, Pastor Jim, we haven't seen since 2008. A new crisis is here, and it's going to get really bad.
Walmart just closed all of its stores in, what was it, Mondo? In Portland, Oregon. And nobody is bothered by it.
Right.
But they don't have a Walmart left. And I don't know what people do without Walmart anymore, because Walmart's become the store of choice for most people. And we have Walmarts even out here in the country. We have Walmarts. Well, there are Walmarts. Branson, Missouri has, I think, 2 Walmarts, don't they?
Yeah.
And then Branson West has a Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
They're everywhere. But they're closing down because of crime.
Right.
Because they're stealing so much, they can't afford to keep them opening. What's going on, Michael? What in the world is happening in America? And we keep being lied to. I mean, I heard the president today say for the second time this week that Republicans want to cut the police. They want to cut back on police. Mondo, that's not true.
No.
Michael, what do you think? Are they just going to lie and lie and lie until we believe it?
Well, that's what the politicians do. They lie. But if you remember a few years ago when we had the BLM riots, people would go in the stores and loot the stores and take whatever they wanted. Yeah. Well, at this point, Pastor Jim, it's just become a daily occurrence. They even have an acronym for it, ORC. It's Organized Retail Crime. It has become a multi-billion-dollar business because organized gangs of thieves go into retail stores, particularly in blue states, in major cities where they know that shoplifting crimes are lax. And what they do, they keep their shoplifting under a certain dollar amount. So they know even if they're, by the off chance they're arrested, they'll only be charged with a misdemeanor, a relatively low crime, and get put out back on the streets relatively quickly. So these organized groups, they go in, they grab whatever they want, they go out of the stores. It's costing our retailers billions of dollars. And it's particularly in major cities such as Portland, where we've got just a rampant drug problem. In Portland, Oregon today, it used to be such a beautiful city, Pastor Jim, but today it's just basically one giant tent city. And most of the people that are homeless are drug addicts because, they're addicted to fentanyl, they're addicted to all these different drugs, which are just spreading like wildfire all over the country. And overdose deaths are keep setting a new record year after year after year because people are dying. You know, a fentanyl, the amount of a grain of rice can kill you, but it keeps flooding in from Mexico, from China, from elsewhere, and our politicians don't seem to want to stop it. But in order to feed their habits, they've got to steal, and so they're stealing from these retail stores. They're smashing car windows, taking, I saw a video the other day. You walk down the street in Oakland, California, window after window after window, car window was smashed because that's what these addicts do. They go grab the stuff out of people's cars so they can sell them. But this is where we're at, Pastor Jim. Crime is spiraling out of control. The very fabric of our society is coming apart all around us, particularly in our major cities. It's getting very frightening out there. Once upon a time, if you look at footage of America from the 30s, 40s, and 50s, people were so civilized and everyone dressed nice when they went out in public, and people weren't afraid of crime in the streets. But today, virtually all of our major cities are degenerating into drug-infested, crime-ridden hellholes, if I can use that term. And it's a nightmare, and it's getting worse with each passing year, Pastor Jim.